welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a track guide for the FIA round number 3 of the Manufacturers Championship, driving the Group 4 cars at Dragon Trail Seaside. So reasonably happy with how the Mercedes drives here. It's not going to be the best car fuel saving. That's where I think it could hurt this car a little bit, because you've got to rev it quite hard to get the most out of the performance at this track. So from the practice runs I've done so far, it's been reasonably competitive. I think it's going to struggle against Lexus and Citroen because of their fuel saving ability of them cars, and also the NSX seems very strong because they can maintain such a good speed and also save way more fuel than is possible in cars like the Nissan GTR and the Mercedes SLS. Tyre wear should be okay on the Mercedes. I've done quite a few practice races now. Tyre wear is no real issue with this car. I think it affects a little bit more than the Nissan GTR, but even that car doesn't seem too bad compared to some other tracks. So it's going to be an interesting race. I seem to be reasonably competitive. I've done a lap in online qualifying that is only fractionally slower than this lap that I'm showing you from the time trial. I could have pushed this a little bit more for this time trial, probably got it into the 44.9s or something like that, but I obviously wanted to just concentrate on hitting an okay lap and then get onto race practice. So this is the track guide. We're going to go through it, and I'm going to try and point out some braking points and some racing lines and stuff, and some hints with the throttle and stuff, just to help you out and get the most out of your lap. Obviously most of this is going to be fairly similar for whatever car you drive. Some cars are going to be able to brake a fraction later. You just have to take into consideration what car you're driving. So through the final corner, make sure you get a really solid exit, working your way down the start straight. Obviously this is just flat out all the way to the first braking zone, which we're going to show you in a minute, and I'm going to point out where I brake. Obviously I look for the 150 board. When we slow it down now, I'm going to show you pretty much braking dead on the 150. So that 150 there is my brake reference, and as I brake I like to get the right hand tyre onto the curb on the right hand side to widen the angle into the corner. You see there, getting it over onto the curb. This enables you to widen the entry point into the corner, and you see the steering angle is starting to go in here just before the 50 board, and you want to clip that left hand tyre on that curb. Don't cut it though, it will get you a penalty now. And then again the exact same for this corner, and notice how I give a little lift off the throttle and then very early back on the throttle. You see, little lift, back on the throttle, and you really want to be carrying as much speed out of this corner as possible. It really is the key corner for getting your first sector right, and the second key corner is just a little bit further up. This corner is completely flat out. You do not need to lift for this corner, so just make sure you cut it a little bit by hitting that right hand tyre over the curb, and make sure you do not lift. And for the braking, I brake as soon as the tyre starts hitting that curb, basically on the left hand side. I start my braking to make sure that I try and not take too much speed in. On this run I did go in a little bit too deep. I would rather have cut that apex a little bit there, your right hand tyre over the curb, but I missed it slightly. You see how I just slightly missed the apex a bit, maybe lose out on a fraction of time, maybe a tenth or so I think it was by the time we get through to the first sector bit. But one thing I did do is got on the power very early, as you can see with that arrow. And then going through the first sector, not a bad first sector, about a tenth down on what I had done, so a little bit off what I should have been at this point. And then for this corner I like to brake very early, down into 4th gear, and chuck it in and try and take less speed into this part now and keep it tight to the apex, and then get on the power as early as possible. I tried to get on the power a bit too early there, which caused me to run wide. I would have rather been a bit over to that left where that arrow is, so I can attack the next part a little bit more. You can see how I've compromised the entry a little bit, but if you stay in 4th gear and really rev it out, you'll find that the car will slowly get back into line, and then early upshift into 5th gear just to stop the tyres scrubbing too much and losing speed, and then you're working your way into the next major braking zone, which I'm looking for, the 150 board on the left hand side. You're going to see it approach very soon, and I brake just pretty much dead on that 150. You can brake a fraction before or dead on, it just depends how you want to take it. I like to go just a slight fraction before, and then again you're going to brake and widen the line into this corner, because you really want to get a wide entry into this corner, down into 3rd gear, and turning in just before the 50 board there. You can see the turning in dot there, turning in just before that 50 board, and I stay in 3rd gear for this corner. Sometimes I do it in 2nd, sometimes I do it in 3rd. It just depends how well you've done it. If you do it really well, you can stay in 3rd and just keep the power down, and you get a much better exit from that corner. At this point I'm about a tenth to 2 tenths down on what my personal best was at this point. However, going through this corner now, I hooked this next part up. So you want to cut this part, and then you don't want to cut this part, because you want to get the car over to the full width of the track and then start turning in one motion. Don't try not to do it in 2 motions, because if you do, that's when you're going to start hitting the barrier. You want to do it in one clean motion, skimming the wall there, and now you're going to cut this corner as much as possible without hitting the wall on the right hand side. It is tricky, but once you get the hang of it, you can start really carrying the speed. And I managed to really, on the exit there, 130 miles per hour, I really hooked that corner up and gained a bit of time back on my previous best lap. And then into the next braking zone, braking just before the 100. I don't like to brake too close at 100 because I find that you go too deep into this final corner. I brake a little bit short of it, down into third gear, and try and hold as tight a line to this apex as possible, but not too tight that it avoids you getting on the power. You want to be just squaring it off almost, and then on the power as early as possible in third gear and working your way all to the finish line. Try and take the shortest line. You can't cut this corner now like you used to be able to. You just have to take a little bit of curb and straight over the finishing line for a 1:45.3. Could have been a little bit. I think I could have got that down to at least a 45.0. Maybe squeezed it into a 44, but I'm really happy with how the qualifying practice has gone. I've managed to get the time only a few tenths off of that within actual qualifying, so if I can do that in the actual race, I should be starting fairly high up, but it's just a case of whether you can hook it up. Sometimes it's low 46s, sometimes it's high 45s, but I have managed to get a 45.5, I think it is, in qualifying, and if I can do that in the actual race, I'll be extremely happy. It's just a case of getting this first sector is so important. I think if you get this first sector right, you tend to carry the momentum on all through the lap. If you make a mistake on that first chicane, you're then chasing the lap and you end up pushing too hard, not being so smooth, and for corners like this you go into this corner too aggressive, and it's always the case, if you're chasing a lap you tend to drive scruffy, but if you start the lap well, the first few corners you tend to just keep the momentum going all the way through the lap. Anyway, hope that track guide has helped. Let me know in the comment section if it has helped you out. Let me know in the results you get. I've tried to get the video out a little bit earlier to help people out a little bit sooner today. I did want to get it out obviously yesterday, but didn't have time. Anyway, thanks again for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. I will be uploading both the FIA Nations and Manufacturers race over the next few days. Hopefully I can get a good result in both of them, and hopefully you can as well. Make sure you give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll be back very soon.